Everyone, and welcome to a long overdue sketchbook tour. Just finished this earlier this week, and this is a little book. You can kind of tell by the scale. I mean, that's a quilting cutting mat underneath, so not very big, but it's one that I've used as kind of a purse sketchbook. Started out where can see on the first page, my dad and I often will go and grab a coffee and whatnot, and he likes to read the paper and do the Sudoku and the crossword. So I had to figure out something to take with me other than just looking at my phone. So I had grabbed this little notebook and started doing some drawing. So that's one of the glass mugs they have at A&W, an observational sketch. And here we start with cartoon planning. So this is one of my main characters, Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat. And Miles is another of my main characters. And that's Ricky's girlfriend, Baby. Baby is Miles's cousin, or I guess going the other direction. Miles is Baby's half mouse, half rat cousin. Anyway, so this was a little bit inspired by I like baking muffins and whatnot, and I like carrot muffins, but every time I see the recipes, it's like shred 6 cups of carrots or whatnot. I'm like, no. So anyways, here we have Baby telling Ricky to grate the carrots, and she's trying to get Miles to dice the apples, and Miles refuses because there are gizmos to do this, and Baby points out who needs gizmos when you have men. You'll notice throughout the book I've got little, that I think was, Aries I think was the answer to one of the crossword clues. I was trying to explain it, and my dad, he's hard of hearing, but he refuses to get hearing aids, so you either have to scream, which I don't want to do, or I just like write out the answer upside down so that across the table he can copy it in. You'll see throughout I've got various little stickers in here. That's one of the things I like doing. In this case, I think those, because they're all candy, were added after this cartoon, but often I'll go through a brand new sketchbook and just like randomly put random stickers on random pages, because then you kind of don't have that blank page issue. So this one, it's all kind of drawn out of order. So this is one of my other main characters is Noah Thorson from Noah's Archipelago, which I was doing as a webcomic for quite a while. Ricky and company, these guys are, I was doing a Ricky podcast, but it's basically going to be short stories and graphic novels. Noah is now going to be turning into a graphic novel and also a coloring book project. But back in the day, like up to 3 months ago, I was doing it as a webcomic several times a week. So this was kind of a plan for a comic that I don't think I ever did. So that's Noah's daughter, Ursula. Daddy, buy me, and sugar sweets. Noah wants to read the nutrition label. Well, Ursula, of course, is against that. They fight over the box. Ursula snatches it away, saying, "You don't need to read the label, Daddy. Just buy it." He obviously has snatched it back when she yells, "Hey." And he's reading, it says, "Now with 50% more banned food additives." I'm not buying this crap. And Ursula points out that banned food additives is what makes it good. That is also kind of a little bit talking about like down in the States where they're banning a bunch of food coloring. And I, for one, support that because, obviously I'm projecting from my own thing, but I learned the hard way over the last 5 years that there's certain food dyes that give me like crazy heart palpitations, and I actually have an arrhythmia. So I learned that I can't have anything with tartrazine. I can't have anything with brilliant blue. Is it FC9 or something like that? Anyways, any of the brilliant blue. Allura red. There's a couple different reds, and like Allura red and whatnot, and I can't have any of them. Tartrazine by far is the worst for me personally, but it's kind of like, yeah, maybe I get that it's fun to have really like, it's fun to have your food look like that color, these kind of colors, but it's, if we don't find it in nature, we're probably not designed or evolved, whatever your opinion on that is, to consume that sort of stuff. So anyways, that is my little soapbox rant. Ursula, of course, loves all the dyes. This was, I think it was a podcast plan that I had that I never ended up doing the podcast series. But it's kind of going to, I suppose, be somewhat similar to one that in theory I will be starting this summer or probably fall at the rate I'm going, which would be like cartooning tips. So I thinking this is kind of like a bio, some of my background and whatnot as an artist. So he's got Ricky, who works in a recording studio. And he's going, Thursday, 3 18-hour days coming right up. And there's just various little doodles. Miles again, Ursula, Noah, more of the random stars. These are a couple observational drawings sitting in the parking lot while my dad was going and fetching something. I think that's I think that's the back of a building that where the back faces onto Home Depot in our town. So part of a Jeep. And then I think I've used this joke a few times in different spots, but Noah is taking his laundry back into the upstairs bedrooms. And I hear the sound of barfing. Now, is that the baby or is it that fucking rat barfing in my begonias again? Well, we can see it's the rat. In their own worlds, like Ricky lives in a world of all rats, and then there's mouse people that live across in the next state across the canyon. Miles lives, or not Miles. Oh, oops, my bad. Noah is in basically human world, although they have bug eyes and only the 3 fingers to be more cartoony. But in my sketchbooks, I like drawing them as if they're next door neighbors that don't get along. So, or rather, Noah doesn't get along with Ricky. Ricky thinks everybody loves him. Anyways, so speaking of Ricky and Miles and whatnot, so there's an ongoing joke with Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat that, because Ricky's 23, originally I was going to have Baby as being 19. Now I was like, okay, I'll make her 21 because they've been dating since 8th grade algebra. Ricky flunked, so he kind of got held back a little bit. They were in the same class. But Baby's father always insists that there has to be a chaperone, and often that duty falls to Miles. So there they are at the top of the basement stairs, and Baby's saying, Miles, Daddy said you have to come chaperone. And Miles, he's building his little model tank collection, and he's thinking, must ignore, stupid cousin, must finish tank. And I put battalions, and I realized battalions is only like 50 tanks, and I was thinking something bigger, so tank divisions. But there he is. He's putting labels on his tank. And then we've got, this is Noah's eldest son from his first marriage, Adam. Adam's 28. Noah likes to pretend he's 29, so, you know, miracles happen, but actually Noah's just lying about his age. So, a little weight room thing. And Adam's really into powerlifting, bodybuilding, etc. And then Noah finding gum in Ursula's pockets. Unfortunately, this was after the hot wash. Ricky's got himself some apple pie. One of my random stickers. Noah, 2055, 30 years in the future. I still got it, whatever it is. So Noah would be in almost 80 at that point. So I think when I started the comic, Noah was supposed to be 47 in 2022. Now they're kind of in that like sitcom time where it's the eternal present. So Noah's still 47, even though it's 4 years later. But we'll pretend that suddenly got undid and he's suddenly in his late 70s, but clearly rocking the Botox. You know. Can't really Botox the corner of your eyes, though. You could put fillers in, you know, what do they call it? The nasolabial folds, you know, when you get those lines from your nose to your chin. He's got some wrinkles on his forearm, too. Anyways, this was when I don't really post shorts too much on my channel, but when I used to do shorts where I would speed up, like, a vertical video of inking or whatnot, I decided to put some overlays for branding purposes. So that was the rough sketch of Miles Marv's Pursuit of Its Happiness is the book, but he had originally written Profits and then it got scrawled out. So that was just like the thumbnail sketch. Inspector Ursula, the case of the missing Wednesday cartoon. Obviously, I skipped doing the cartoon that day. Looks like a classic case of a lazy cartoonist. I can relate. Now give me 500 for solving it. Ursula likes drawing cartoons herself. So there's another thumbnail of Miles' overlay. The sign was fine the first time, it still said Pursuit of Profits. And then we got Noah listening to true crime stuff from YouTube while he bakes. Today on True Crime Tube, mother-in-laws who poisoned their son-in-laws. And here I thought Agnes's cooking was just accidentally bad. And this was doodle. This I remember being a doodle from one of the writing group meetings. Back when I used to go, they meet on Thursday nights, and I now live stream on Thursday nights. So unfortunately, live streaming kind of more important than hanging out at meetings and being social. So, anyways, I think there was some story about diplomats getting drunk on sake. So, hence I had Miles, or not Miles. Oops, I'm doing it again. Ricky looking to get wasted on sake. Miles is chugging coffee. Meanwhile, Noah has had too much coffee. And that's Bono. And it's also Noah Burt. So Dilbert in Noah. Kind of like a mishmash between Noah style and Dilbert style Ursula. Pointy-haired boss. And Noah's wife Ruth reading Bono's autobiography. Me, 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 me. And so that's why we had Noah or Bono show up a couple times. And some random doodles. I think this is from the same meeting. That looks like one of Ricky's cousins. Not quite Darren, but not Billy, but perhaps one of Darren's cousins, like on the other side of the family, but definitely looks somewhat related to Darren. One of the running jokes with Noah is he likes hanging out in the pool, which is actually his mother-in-law's pool. The idea, he and his wife and the two girls, Ursula and her baby sister Valerie, live in Ruth's parents' guest house. And then there's a swimming pool in the backyard between the two houses. So Noah likes to hang out there as if it was his own pool. And Ursula is obsessed with super soaker sniping type of thing. So she's imagining herself as the Navy frog Ursula about to pop up, and then she's going to blast him in with the super soaker and ruin his hair. Meanwhile, he's imagining singing at Madison Square Garden. I forget what this was. Something to do with like wardrobe planning. And then we've got Baby shopping and all the stuff that she's going to buy because she's a spoiled rich girl. Ricky's carrying it. He can't see a damn thing. So he's just telling her she'd look great in either one, which means she's going to buy two, and then the pile's going to get higher. A little observational sketch with some doodles from one of the cream containers at probably A&W. I think that was that might have been at Red Robin down in Victoria, but my water glass before the ice cubes all melted. Noah loves pumpkin spice. And I guess this was August, and there was a tiniest little bit of rain drizzle, and there's Noah in his speedo by the pool, being all pissed off that it's starting to rain. Sketchtober, yeah, that didn't happen. I always have plans about, different, or actually would have been Sketchtember, not October, so September, but I always have plans about doing these month-long challenges and whatnot, and if it gets started at all, it peters out by about the 15th. Some more observational sketching, knives and forks and whatnot. I play Scrabble with my dad pretty much every Sunday as we're waiting for dinner, like I prep chicken or whatever, and as it's kind of marinating, then we play Scrabble, and I guess that was my that was my tray one day. That's actually not the worst tray I've ever had. I've had some where I had like 4 I's and 3 E's, and nowhere where I could use any of that on the board. There's Noah. He thought we were going to have a toga party. These random, I think I was trying to draw like folds in fabric, like, you know, like that kind of thing, and it, but not putting too much detail in. So we got a little bit more of that here with different markers. And again, yeah, day one sketch timber from last year. Oh yeah, I started this book in late June of 2025, and I finished it in early June of 2026. So, and then this, okay, so I think I've mentioned it in some of like my weekly recaps, and definitely on my blog, puredraculea.substack.com. I think I have a link below. But I've been involved with the Cowichan exhibition and helping to run the needlework division for the last couple years. I ran it by myself for a couple years. I took it over from a friend who needed a break, and then she and I last year were co-chairs, and then she's doing it over again this year. Because, you know, schedule changes, etc. But anyways, last year it was looking like we didn't have enough entries, because in our division, not everybody, but like more than half of the entries come in at the last moment. Like the day that you would drop things off for the judging is when it comes in. So it looked like we didn't have any entries. Anyways, I planned out this little embroidery, like a wool applique with some random stitching, whatever, that I could do very quickly. And I did. And somewhere on my channel, hey, Pira, when you're editing this, find the link and put it below. But I did actually get it finished, and it actually won a blue ribbon, although, that, to be honest, it was in a category where nobody else was entered. It was like, oh, entrance own original design or something like that, and I was the only one who was in it. So yeah, yay me, I got a blue ribbon. But that wasn't even why I did it. I was just like, we have to have at least one more thing on the table. And then, because we had like only 14 entries, and I was like, oh my god, you know, because we always fight for more space and all this, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be embarrassed. We're going to have nothing. And then the last minute it ended up being like 45 pieces or something, because like 30 were registered like the last 2 days. It happens every year. Anyways, but that was the little thumbnail for that. Ursula and Noah. Waiter, there's a fly in my soup. You'll have to give me pizza instead. Ursula's always trying to figure out a way to bully her parents into letting her only eat pizza and candy as a balanced diet. And then this one, you remember the George of the Jungle song that Weird Al used to sing? George, George, George of the Jungle, strong as he can be. Well, Noah's singing the same version, but with his own name and hiding behind. It's not a fig leaf. Well, actually, technically speaking, it is, because wait, monsteras are a ficus, aren't they? I don't know. It might be a kind of a fig, but maybe it's a philodendron. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I think it actually is a philodendron. Never mind. Anyways, there's Noah. He's all pissed off that the cartoonist drew him with cankles and fat arms again. And then these were just a couple people. I was having a snack at the food fair at one of the malls in Victoria. These were people like 100 feet away across the food court that I could kind of surreptitiously sketch. This chick had finished her meal and she was checking her phone, and this one was waiting in line at the A&W kiosks. So some random character heads: Noah, Ursula, Ruth, Adam, Noah's second son, Adam's brother, Duke. Duke is 24. Ursula is 8, by the way. And Ruth is actually Noah's 5th wife. It's a long story. He knocked up Adam's mom in high school. They got married, or had like the grad or something like that. They got married right out of high school, got divorced a couple years later. He knocked up Duke's mom, married her, got divorced a couple years later. Then he had a marriage with Denise, the showgirl in Vegas, where he was drunk anyways, and she just wanted to make her boyfriend jealous. So they had a quickie marriage and then a quickie annulment. And then he had a wife, Lisa, who we don't really talk about in the comic because it's already too complicated. But Lisa was like a local news weather girl, and they actually did not have any kids. Lasted a few years. Noah's still friends with all his exes. But anyways, they got divorced. She moved back east, married a fisherman, and became the lead anchor on the TV station in her new town. Anyways, and then Noah met Ruth, and they've been together the longest. But anyways, and then that's Ruth's mother, Agnes. Agnes, not a big fan of Noah, but, she puts up with him. Ruth's dad, Frank, kind of actually does quite like Noah, but he has to pretend he doesn't when Agnes is around. It's in-laws. Anyways, here's Miles dressed as Elvis, a few different Elvis poses and whatnot. And this is actually it's kind of been wasn't that much of a running gag in the podcast for Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat, but I am working on a painting of Miles dressed as Elvis and whatnot, and I'm going to actually be working on a coloring book. We'll see some brainstorming for that later, wherein Miles wears his Elvis outfit to go trick-or-treating because he's short and people give him candy, and he figures, well, if they're stupid enough to not ask and make sure that he isn't actually a grown-up, well, he would be stupid to not take the free candy. The neighborhood kids consider that cheating, of course. Anyways, there's some aftermath of eating pancakes at A&W sketches. The syrup packet. Anyways. Oh yeah, this. So I had an idea, and I'd still like to do it at some point, but just it's not on the docket any time in the foreseeable future. But I wanted to build ventriloquist dummies, or maybe not even ventriloquist dummies with the hard head and the levers and whatnot. Maybe just Muppet style where you're just doing this inside. But large puppets of some of my different characters. And then the idea was going to be that I was going to do kind of a spoof of The Tonight Show. Obviously, not on the level of that production-wise, but a late-night talk show where my guests are the puppets of my characters. And then it was going to have fake ads that come in and whatnot, fake sponsorships. So this is the joke that Noah, that one of the fake ads brought to you by Noah's Archipelago. And now a word from our sponsor. And the word is, quit promoting those stupid rats or I'll sue you for breach of contract. Joke's on him. I didn't sign a contract. You get what you paid for, which is nothing. And I was going to have an old-timey phone, and I wouldn't be able to do it live, of course, because I'd have to edit in sound effects and whatnot, but it'd be the phone rings and I answer it, and I'm with one hand, have Ricky or Miles here and then answer the phone, and it's Noah watching the show and complaining. Anyways, there's a cartoon of that. Noah in a bath towel and his fuzzy slippers, furious, watching the TV. So, Ricky, I hear you like cheese. Yep, cheese is great. And Noah's just fuming. I said no rats. Anyways, one of these days, maybe I'll be able to do that show. Not anytime soon, though. And then we got Noah in one of those pool floaties, taking a little nap. Enjoy Rat Cola. That is one of the major companies in Ricky's world. And, that's some other fake sponsors that I could have had for that show. But basically, I use that stuff, or I will be using some of that for, if you've seen the Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat live streams where I'm drawing, the current book is interrupted by ads from fake companies, and there was actually a Rat Cola ad. So some of this stuff we use for that. Anyways, Ricky is explaining to us the key to good hydration is 3 Rat Colas and 4 Rat Brews a day. Rat Brew, of course, being beer. Water? Hell no. Water's flushing the toilet. Why would you drink that? This was plans for Inktober last year. Some of it actually got done. I think I got through about half of it, but I have a little sketchbook that's kind of thinner that I was doing those in and doing reels, and then half of it I didn't get drawn. So I'm gonna try and finish that half this October. We'll see. Um, but anyway, so that's planning for that. And then this year, I guess I must have misplaced this sketchbook for a while because that's probably written in September, like before, definitely written in like September before Inktober, and then the next thing is in February. And then the joke is that Ursula wants to capture a leprechaun because then the leprechaun can give her gold and then she'll never have to work a real job, which means she won't have to pay attention in school. Um, so anyways, there's a whole plan with this. So Noah is kind of playing along with Ursula's creativity. So he sees a green hamster wheel because Ursula's leprechaun habitat is basically just a tank, an old aquarium, terrarium. Anyways, and then here it's kind of related. He sees Ursula's leprechaun notes that there needs to be a hamster wheel, a fairy house for the leprechaun to hide in, some clover, lucky charms, and it says feeding station. So Noah sees this and he's thinking, well, at least she's planning to feed her leprechaun this year, but it's going to need a water bowl. He's got laundry because that's the never-ending thing. So there's Ursula. She's got her little trap with a bowl of Lucky Charms and hiding in the bushes. At least she's getting fresh air, right? Miles comes up. You do realize that the leprechauns can just cut your stupid string, right? And Ursula tells him to shut up because they'll hear him. And then this one, Noah loves wearing ridiculous costumes and whatnot and tries to wear them out in public. So he's got one of these, I thought Adamant, somebody else on one of my followers on Facebook said, I thought it was more like a Sergeant Pepper. Totally, as soon as she said that, I was like, oh my God, yes, it is Sergeant Pepper jacket. But it's the same style based on the old British military uniforms, like the Hussar jackets and whatnot. Anyways, Ruth's not impressed. She says, you're wearing that to Costco? What? You don't want people to think you married Adamant? She says, I don't want people to think I married Michael Jackson. And Noah points out that his nose is too big for that. The story apparently goes that Adamant was wearing that kind of a jacket. And then he was at some event in the early 80s. He bumped into Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was like, that's a cool jacket. Where did you get that? And Adam told him. It was, I think, Vivienne Westwood probably, because Vivienne Westwood at that time, I think, was kind of doing takeoffs of historical British costumes. So Michael Jackson went and bought that jacket, and then after that, that stuff became part of his style going forward. So blame Adamant. There's a really ornate version of one of these by a British company called Row Rocks, and I love it. But I'm kind of like, I'm a bigger girl right now, and I'm trying to not be a bigger girl, and altering a jacket is a major pain in the ass. So I bought a cheaper version that was more simple for now, but that is one of the things. If I can get even 50 pounds off, like, then it's not as huge of an alteration where I would go and go, okay, if I get that down to that point, I probably would order it in the size of whatever size I would need at that point, and then worry about taking it in if I get even closer to my goal weight. But right now it's like, I don't want to spend that money. And anyways. So yes, I love these kind of like over the top jackets. Anyways, Ursula, this was related to a story arc in Noah's Archipelago earlier this year where she had to give a presentation and whatnot. So there she is talking at the front of the class. And then this Ricky and Miles. And this is based on a short story. I haven't actually written the short story, but I have like all the beats to it written down. I just have to actually like type it up properly. And that is Ricky and Miles going on a double date, and Miles is explaining the way of women to Ricky. And part of it is this little speech. Now listen, Ricky, chicks dig dirt bags. The only question is what kind of dirt bag? A sports car dirt bag? A luxury car dirt bag? A truck dirt bag? Or a yacht dirt bag? I have one of each, just to be sure. And then I colored in Wiles likes the kind of spectator shoes, like the old-timey shoes. So I colored his in yellow. And this one, now we're looking at specifically the truck because that was part of the story. That Miles has a truck that's a huge truck and it's on a lift kit, and it's kind of like, how the hell does he get into that? Because Ricky has a hard time getting into it. And Ricky and Miles explains he parks it next to fences and mailboxes so he can climb up that way. These were some sketches of Miles as a coxswain on his alma mater's rowing team back in the day. Mouseford, the Mouseland part version of Harvard. And some sketching there, and then they throw him in the water. And then this is not sort of planning for my Tuesday stream, except this isn't the direction I went with it. So Noah having to clean on stream as well. So some planning that didn't come to fruition. And Miles standing on the back of a giraffe. Now who's taller? Well, the giraffe is. I did a version of both of these on stream, I guess in February or March. Same with this one, so they're brainstorming for that. Then this one, I think this was an idea I had about like doing multiple drawings to go with one of my short stories, and then I was going to like speed up the drawings to fit the narration, and then I just decided that was way too much work. But this story, it's Jeff versus Big Mike, which was, I think, the first episode of the Ricky B. Rap podcast. It is going to be illustrated somewhat, like not full illustration like a graphic novel, but 10 or 12 drawings to go with it when I do a collection of the short stories in a book. So all this planning actually ends up being useful for that. This was planning for the calendar project that then I was like, I'm not doing a calendar project every year because I'm lazy. I'll do a book project that's like a book of days that has to do with... Anyways, I decided I was going to do Noah's Archipelago book of days. So, more planning that didn't matter. And a couple sketches. Ursula looking pissed. Ricky looking happy. Reader magnets. This is something I'm planning for that I'm actually going to be doing on stream. So the idea is you make it like a freebie that someone can get when they sign up for your newsletter. And because I have kind of three main projects, Noah's Archipelago, Ricky and the Rats, and Miles, and then Zummel the Destroyer, I'm going to do three of them, and they will be taking stories that I've already written or at least done a first draft of. The Noah one, I have to finish writing the story, but doing a series of illustrations and then putting them together into like a PDF that would give bonus material like backstory or whatnot. And then if people want it, they sign up for my mailing list. And anyway, so I mean, the mailing list I'm planning to launch by the end of June or sometime in July. And for the initial reader magnets will be just a couple free coloring book pages. But then on my streams, basically Monday through Wednesday, we will be working on reader magnet illustrations by the beginning of July, because I've got one for Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat, so Ricky and Miles. So once I finish the current Miles project in a couple weeks, or at least this phase of the current phase of the current Miles project, then I'm going to start working on illustrations on stream on Mondays for that. And similarly, the Book of Days, the current phase of it with the big full color or 12, one illustration per month, that's going to be done by the end of June. So then that's going to be when I start working on illustrations for the Noah's Archipelago Reader's Magnet, and then Zomo in a week, actually. Like this week, I have a couple drawings to finish for Zomo's Secret Basement Lab, and then it's going to be The World According to Zomo. So anyways, that was just some like notes about that, and then Noah holding a giant magnet. Then we've got a couple random doodles, funhouse mirrors and stuff. That was notes from an appointment that I covered over with a sketch of, that is a sketch of how my iguana, because I had an iguana for like 10 years. She unfortunately passed in 2004, but that would be how she would eat houseplants. If she wanted, however much of this specifically is like hibiscus leaves, instead of eating an entire hibiscus leaf, she would take a bite out of each of like 6 hibiscus leaves, and then you would see like the chunk missing and these tiny little pinpricks from her teeth where she like grabbed it and then pulled. So I was illustrating that on stream. And then this character, Logan, is... So Ricky's boss is Big Mike, and it's a recording studio, but one of the mix engineers who works there all the time, Jeff, who is actually the nephew of Big Mike's current wife, then Jeff's nephew is Logan. So it's this kid, Logan, the Wonder Kid. And he's this nerdy kid who actually is like a whiz with like electronics and stuff. So Logan is the one who, and he's only like 15, but who like solders and fixes cables and fixes guitar pedals and does a whole bunch of like weird little electronic inventions and stuff. And Jeff makes damn sure that Big Mike pays Logan for this labor. That was another thumbnail of Big Mike here. You know, the floor is sticky or whatnot. So yeah, there's Logan. Logan finds white powder cramming a fader, and that's why the fader wouldn't slide. And then Logan runs it through his home mass spectrometer to find out exactly what was in this white powder, and finds out that it was only 0.6% cocaine, 75% baking soda, 13% borax, 6.4% caffeine powder, 3% veterinary dewormer, 2% talcum powder, and 0.6% cocaine. I actually... I think I did it on like a private tab. Not that that really matters, but I'm like, okay, I had an idea of the joke, but I wanted to know what would actually go into that. It's like, okay, so I have to look up, what do you cut cocaine with? But I was like, I don't want that on my normal search history. We'll pretend as if the private window in Brave actually does anything for privacy. I'm sure it doesn't. But apparently veterinary dewormer is something that they put in it, and caffeine powder and whatnot. So anyways, there you go. This one is obviously particularly egregious, which is why Logan says that he hopes the boss didn't pay full price for that Coke. Anyways, and then there's Noah dressed up as a rubber ducky, probably singing the Rubber Ducky song from Sesame Street, and he's filming himself for a reel for Instagram. That is Agnes's pool. And that was inspired because, again, that's a random sticker of a ducky that I just stuck in when the book was still empty. Some more funhouse mirror type drawings. Ursula, probably that's... I would guess that was a typo, 4/13 plus 7/12, because she's in 3rd grade. So, you know, yeah, they're introducing fractions and adding fractions and whatnot. But I would think it would have probably intended to be 4/3 plus 7/2. But anyways, I did the math and whatnot, but Ursula can't. So we've got the kind of the Apocalypse Now scene with the helicopters going in her mind. Not that she would have seen that, but anyways, it's funnier. And she asks Miles what the answer is, and he tells her $75. That's what he charges for homework help. Some other planning stuff. See, the problem is your teachers are morons. She's like, I knew it! And so are you. Hey! Websites, update plans, other plans, more plans. I don't know. Probably won't. I don't know. This like Noah, a coloring book based on Noah taking a Vancouver Island driving trip sounds like fun, except I would want to get my own reference photos. And in Victoria, that's not that bad. Although you do sit in traffic a lot in Victoria, but like having to drive all the way up and down the island, kind of a pain in the ass, so I probably won't do it. At least not this year. Uh, Little doodle of Noah. I guess I had a meeting or something that was on April 20th, so he's kind of looking and tempted and reminding himself, yes, set a good example. It was a sign I did for one of the groups that I belong to. And then we had at my parish a spring potluck get together. So I had gone. I decorate the photo booth usually. Well, the last few times we've done it. So I was there early because I thought there was something I might have to fix on the photo booth, and then it wasn't. And then I had like a couple hours to kill before the potluck, and I brought salad, so I'd already put it in the fridge. So I just sat there and doodled in my book a bit. So there they are. The theme was garden party, and there was like a hat competition. Well, it was more like a hat random draw. If you wore a hat, you could win a prize. Anyways, Ursula doesn't want to go because she wants to sit and watch TV and eat stuff. But one of my friends is a brilliant baker, and she brought dessert, and oh wow. So anyways, that was kind of similar to one of the cupcakes she brought, and there's Ursula looking and salivating. And then kind of getting back to the neighbors thing with Noah and the rats. Yes. And I get it. It's a little more even. That's a little more even, I think. Noah noticing the rats walking around. So that's why there's a new cheese shop in town. And Ricky and Baby are completely oblivious. Baby's blathering on about something with her, some drama with her sisters. And Ricky's pretending to be interested, being the good boyfriend by asking, so what happened after that, baby? And they've obviously been into the Cheesorama. That was notes for a demo that I did at Cowichan Valley Arts Council, and a little thumbnail for. I took a bunch of my cartooning and stuck it into one of those like Itoya Profolios as like a sample book to have on the table for people to flip through. Aside from what I was to see things other than what I was working on that day. So that was the thumbnail for the front page. I didn't actually draw Zalmo in any of that stuff, which is kind of funny, but I figured Zalmo holds out to be paid, perhaps, and I didn't pay, so Zalmo didn't show up. Anyways, there's Noah with reading glasses, wanting to know if they make him look like a sexy professor. It's kind of a running gag in some of my sketchbooks that the birds and butterflies and all that stuff like to shit on Noah's car. So there's a bird flying up to him at the window. Where's your car, Thorson? I got a shit. And then Zamo, so Zamo was my original webcomic in 2006, was Zamo the Destroyer. And I did it as a webcomic until 2009. Then I was on hiatus for a while. And then in 2013, I was going to reboot the comic, decided I didn't have the time. 2014, I started doing it as a podcast, where I would use like the Zamo voice, and it sounded a lot like this. Anyways, and then that kind of ran steadily for a few years, and then it kind of petered out around 2021, maybe 2022. So another hiatus, and then I'm getting ready to take the old Zamo comics, make a book of them, and then take the old Zamo podcast scripts and make books out of those. So there's Zamo going, came crawling back, huh? And then a drawing of what an iguana's foot looks like, rear foot. The front feet look like hands, except the thumbs aren't opposable, and then the back feet kind of look a little weird because they got the long toes for like reaching out to be able to grab onto branches. Some notes about graphic novel size. This one, like they're not really talking about hantavirus anymore because I think people realize like, yeah, we just assume the media is full of shit. Also, it's spread by rats and mice in their droppings. So if you avoid playing with rat shit, you're probably fine. If you have to clean up rat shit, well, then you wear gloves and a mask and all that at that point and thoroughly disinfect. Anyway, but Noah, of course, is jealous of the rats and Miles getting attention. So here he is going like, hey, cartoonist, I don't want to be that guy. But you do know rats and mice spread hantavirus and bubonic plague, right? And Miles is pointing out that only humans get syphilis. I think also herpes is another one. I mean, I think there may be herpes versions that some different kinds of herpes that other animals get, but basically herpes is a human disease. Anyways, whereas Ricky's just like, bubonic plague? Nah, their last album sucked. I ain't spreading that. He says, their debut was odd, though. I spread that tape around for sure. And that was a diagram explaining to my dad this scene I saw one time in Vancouver where a car was at a major intersection. They have those like concrete barriers between lanes. The car had somehow ended up pointing into the intersection, but perfectly balanced on the center of those beams. So whatever the accident was, it took a lot of force to lift that car up, spin it around, and like set it right down on that barrier. So anyways, that was an illustration from a conversation. And then notes about, I mentioned the coloring pages as freebies for my newsletter sign up when I launch it. So this is thumbnails for those 3 pages. I've shown them on my my weekly recap videos a couple weeks back. Then we have notes for a story. This is actually not going to be the actual Ricky B, the Rock and Roll Rat reader magnet, but it is a story that I will use. I will write this into a proper story, and it will end up in one of the future Ricky books. It's notes about like doing seasonal reader magnets and whatnot. So it may end up being that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are kind of constantly working on stuff that will, later be freebies or go into books and whatnot. And just because it's free now, like the ones I'm going to be working on, all of them will eventually end up in books, where, so anyways, where there would be obviously a lot of other content along with them. And then these guys are reacting to this sticker of the martini. Noah just wants a regular beer. Miles loves martinis, and this one, he does not pass the sniff test, I guess. I got stuck on the Malahat Highway one time. There was actually a vehicle fire about half a mile ahead. So I was parked there on a hot day for about, this was only a couple weeks ago. I was there probably about 30, 45 minutes sitting there. So I ripped out my sketchbook and I did some doodling. That was starting to be an observational drawing of like the taillights of the van that was in front of me. And then there was a guy goes over and he's pretending like he's really observing the rock wall because it was like, it's a mountain road. So they like blasted it out. So it was like semi-vertical and then the highway could go here. Obviously he was taking a leak, but yeah. And then Ricky, some planning for coloring books. This one, a little doodle with popsicles. Ursula is right. Noah has definitely made these from home from actual fruit juice, and Ursula is very suspicious. She does not want to eat health food. So anyways, I mentioned earlier about Miles and trick-or-treating, so it's going to be a coloring book that I'm going to be working on this summer and doing my best to have out for sale, September-ish, October 1st at the latest. October 15th at the latest. But it's going to be a coloring book about trick-or-treating in the neighborhood, and Miles is cheating, so there he is in his little Elvis outfit. Well, Ursula cries foul. Don't listen to her. She's crazy. I'm not a 28-year-old accountant with my own accountancy firm. I'm a 3rd grader, just like her. Now gimme. And then Ursula's dressed as a queen, so she makes Noah dress up as a footman. And he's the one who's going to carry her candy. So I talked about this on my most recent recap video, but I did some like internet research about like footman costumes for wealthy aristocratic families in like the 1800s and all that sort of stuff. So this is kind of based on an amalgam of different photos of authentic antique textile costumes I saw for sale in like Sotheby's, and not a Sotheby's, but like that kind of an auction house that deals in high-end antiques. Then that's Ruth, Noah's wife, Ursula's mother, Ursula, Noah's bad hair day, random sticker, observational drawing of like a little garden bell sort of thing that I have on my fence. Portrait of, well, the current family of the Thorsons. His eldest sons aren't there because, of course, they're grown up, right? And they got shit to do. So, but anyways, that's the baby Valerie dreaming of being a ninja. That is a doodle from YouTube there's like a short film, How to Sharpen a Pencil. It's kind of satirical, making fun of like artisanal, hipster artisanal stuff. So anyways, that's the dude from that. That's bleed through from this. This was some materials testing with acrylic markers and then other acrylic markers on top to see how opaque they would be or how much they kind of let the other colors show through. Really depends on the brand. Also, there's some pencil crayons and like Sharpies and stuff. More bleed through. And then Noah and drawing foxglove from memory. And then the last page I just left with just the little sticker I put there and the price tag of the book. I bought this at Home Sense. It's Montmartre, and it's got the little rubber elastic that goes over. So there we have it. I thought I was going to be done that tour in like half an hour, and I was talking fast, but mind you, it wasn't really a flip through. I was giving explanations or whatever. So why don't we find, just for visual interest, I'm going to wrap it up pretty quick, but anyways, there we go. Noah as the footman. So I hope you've enjoyed this little look. It's been a while since I've had a sketchbook tour because I usually have sketchbooks based on themes, right? So I have one that is specifically for brainstorming coloring books. Noah coloring books specifically. I have one that's specifically for brainstorming Ricky B. Rat stuff. One of those is done, but if I were to give a tour of it, it shows the spoilers for Ricky B. Goes to Sea. I guess I just paperclip those together, like the last 5 pages together or whatnot. But yeah, so it takes a while to actually finish a sketchbook when I'm working out of like 6 different ones, right? Versus if I had everything in one sketchbook. But if I had everything in one sketchbook, then it's hard to find if I need like if I need this drawing of Noah, right? Well, anyways, and this wasn't really planned. This is definitely one of the sitting over coffee and doodling while my dad did the crossword puzzle type of pages. But yeah, so this took just under a year to fill in. Amongst working on other sketchbooks and other projects and whatnot. So we finally have a new sketchbook tour, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And yeah, if you want to see me work live on these guys, Monday to Friday, let me just pull out I have one of these little flyers. So there's my streaming schedule. If you want to see me work on inking and whatnot, or those reader magnets as we start doing them. That's the schedule. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you again real soon. Like, subscribe. You know all the drills. So anyways, thanks for watching, and bye for now. Bye-bye, Noah. Too bad about the shoes.